2021. We have a little noise in the background here.
It's because I said talk.
County Oregon Board of Commissioners. Yeah, you started the fishing program. It's our workshop. It is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And welcome everyone. First item on the agenda. Oh no, we already did the Pledge of Allegiance earlier today. Amendment approval of the agenda. Any questions or additions, board?
Well, you made one on here for an amendment earlier. What's that?
B, fleet?
Yeah, what did I do with it?
Something to do with enterprise?
Enterprise Auto Fleet-wide Management for Curry County. And he's going to be calling it about 2:30. So that would be item 3B. Would it be under the presentation category? Anything else, board?
I move for the approval of the amendments with the amendments to the agenda.
Second?
Well, discussion. We have public comments here. We just read earlier today that we don't have public comments at workshops.
Yeah, we shouldn't. Okay.
So that's off the list. So do you want to redo your message?
As
Or excuse me, your call for the question, please.
Commissioner Pash.
Yes.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes?
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, first on the agenda is request to use portion of 34 acres of Curry County property located at intersection of Highway 101 and Airport Road for use as road department storage facility to work with economic development and proposed Curry County transportation system plan, Oregon Coast Bike Route Goals. Richard Christensen. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yeah, this is follow-up to our presentation at the last budget meeting, talk about bringing this to board workshop, and I've worked with Summer Matteson, Economic Development, on things that they would like to use this property for, but also with David Barnes on how the funding would take place and to make it to change it over to the county road department portion. So, you know, what we're really looking at, I don't have a presentation, just want to kind of talk about it. You have the packet. And so basically looking at it harder, the road department would like to have like the southern 10, 12 acres with a flag cherry stem going down to it. And that, you know, talking with Summer Matteson, it's like there's economic development that they'd like to do within the wetlands area in the northern portion towards Airport Road where we don't really have an interest. But other than, you know, just in the past, Commissioner Boyce had talked about the Oregon Coast Bike Route, and which the road department fully supports. And we think that if the road department were to have for its use the southern 10, 12 acres, everybody else could have their uses as well, and we would be able to maintain at least 150-foot forest buffer around our activities, so we can maintain the scenic corridor, maintain from any residential farms that are on the other property lines. They wouldn't see us, and so that's what we would like to do and try to find a way for board support that to make that happen.
Commissioner Herzog?
I support that.
So have you got a chance to walk it out yet?
No, I've seen that property and I forgot we were going to do that. We never did do that.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting. In the audience here is Tim. I've never met him before, but he just came and talked with me, and he walked all that recently, and he said within the last few weeks, someone's been going in there cutting our trees and stealing them for their timber. You know, we're just not watching that site, and I think if the road department were in there, we could watch it a little bit better. But yeah, so that forest does have value, and it sounds like people are going in there and packing it away.
We're going to call on you in a minute. Certainly. Hang on one second. Absolutely.
But also, I'd like to let David Barnes speak, because he's got a schedule he's got to keep, too,
Okay.
on how the transaction
So-
would take place.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
David Barnes, County Treasurer. There was talk about, I remember hearing talk of the road department buying this piece of property from the county, or the transfer of money somehow or another from road fund into the county for this. I've spoken to Mr. Pope about this briefly, but the way to go with this would really be to just do a designation on a piece of property. If the county sells the property to the road department, the proceeds from that get split up between the special districts. The only way that the county keeps the money is if it's a designated park, and then it gets designated a parkland. So my recommendation to you would be to find some kind of way to make a legal designation, if you would, of this property to the road department for 10, 20, 50 years, whatever it takes, but so that they know that they have this property up there. And there was talk of the bike path. Every month, the county gets money from a shared fuel tax, I believe that it is, and 1% of that money every month goes into the bike path fund. So we do have some money sitting in that fund already. I believe it ties with the rest of the state. Everybody who gets the fuel tax, I think, is supposed to do this, but I'm not quite positive on that. So there is money that comes in already that the road department is contributing to the bike path project. So, but, as I said, my recommendation on this, there's really no need to make this into a financial matter. It's just a matter of allowing the road department to use it and putting something down on paper so that it is theirs for use. Thank you.
Hang on one second,
Go ahead.
please. Bike path funds, do you even have a rough idea what's in that and how restrictive that is?
I have no idea, sir. I've not looked
You
into
can
it.
look when you get time, no hurry.
I
Thank
will.
you. Also, before you leave, the 7 acres on the north side, no, if are you going to be here for a little bit?
I'm in my office if you want
Why don't you hang out for just 10 minutes?
Go ahead.
Let's go ahead and have Mr. Palmer come up, and then I want to call on Economic Coordinator Matteson, if she wants to speak.
Okay, I'm Tim Palmer of Port Orford, and I just wanted to say that I know the county wanted to get some economic return on this site when the deal was first made, and that would be fine. And I understand the road department can use the site for good purposes that would benefit the county, and that's good. But I also just wanted to mention the site, and I think you all know this, but the site has some intrinsic qualities as well. There's timber on the site. Some of it's fairly large, as second or third growth timber. There's some wetlands on the site. There's Port Orford cedar, actually one of the better groves of Port Orford cedar that's not in a super remote area. And of course, the Port Orford cedar is named after our little town, even though the tree came first. And there are a couple other, I think, important aspects of this site too. It's, in a lot of ways, this is the gateway to Curry County. Up there where this site is, and across from the high school, this is one of the first things people see when they arrive in Curry County. And we in North Curry are very proud of our county, and we would like, that entrance to be nice and to be appealing and attractive. So we're concerned that it be that way. And the setbacks that Richard's talked about, are a good idea. It's also right across from the high school. And I think there are tremendous opportunities, and I'm pretty sure there are people at the high school who would agree on this, although I haven't had time to talk to them personally yet. But opportunities there to use VOTEC activities, shop activities, trail building, nature study, science experiments. They have trails there. It could even be part of a cross-country running route. And of course, the bike and camping idea, if there's a way to work that out. So between this being the gateway, pardon me?
Would you mind repeating those 5 just for the public? Those are, that's my biggest concern. I apologize for interrupting you, but, you mentioned cross-country, you mentioned science.
Oh, yeah.
Mention all that again if you
Yeah,
would.
okay, so VOTEC, shop, science, natural history, phys ed, running trail, trail building, outdoor skills, all those kind of things. You could have a really, there could be a really good relationship with the school here in the kind of things that, that we like to stress and prepare kids for here in Curry County. So I'm just saying, as you decide and consider all this, think about all these. I think there's an opportunity to do all this on this site. And the stringers that run through the site. So whatever is done there, if we can have not just a buffer, but a usable section of wooded area, like for these school projects or recreation, that would be great along the 101 corridor. And of course, you'll have to protect the wetlands in some way on the other parts. So I guess I'm trying to think of what I missed here, but I think just to wrap this up, I think you have the opportunity to do all these things if the site is planned properly and carried out with all these objectives in mind. And, you know, I think it's just a real fertile area for working with the school and, you know, crossover between the road department, the county, and the school, and the people who live nearby. So please keep all that in mind as you make your deliberations on this.
Who else in the audience? This could be a question for anyone, but actually more of a comment, I'm sorry. This is a much smaller scale, but when we finally, after 3 years, transferred the Brookings Airport back, or to the city of Brookings, I mean, it was a little bit controversial. There were some differing opinions on all of that, and yet we did take a long time to make sure we did the right thing there, and I supported that and still convinced we did the best thing. You mentioned how thick the brush is. It needs to be firewized right away because we could fool around and lose that whole thing. Obviously, on, you know, everybody's that owns any kind of property that has combustible material, that is an issue, especially in Curry County. Roadmaster Christensen, I was wondering how much room you need, because that 7 acres on the north side, as long as we had a buffer, there's a little bit of wetlands there, but you know, would that give you enough room, at least preliminarily, to do some of the work you need, even if we bought a year or two to come up with a plan?
Yeah, I believe so. I think, you know, if we had a football field size portion in the center of that, and that we left a huge forested part in there, and, you know, our road equipment, once we were in there and we were out of fire season, we could take our mowers and we could mow all that high fuel, that high density fuel, and get it down to where, you know, the school could use it and do their science lab or whatever, cross country. But my thought would be we would start with like a football field size area in there, and if we needed more staging area, we would look at that in the future. But just in the beginning, I would see cutting in a road into there, maybe 20 feet wide for equipment, and then having like a football acre size opening in the center of that southern portion, and that we would have our activities.
What kind of crew could you put together for doing some of the brush work and, you know, the ground fuels?
That's our expertise. That's what we do.
That was a dumb question. I'm sorry. I just wanted to hear you say that.
Yeah, no, that's what we do. It's just a fire season thing. We're into fire season, so.
But that would be a lot of material to burn.
Well, we would brush cut
Because
and
it
just leave it as mulch for the most part.
Okay.
And just leave it down there and just get it down on the ground and let it decompose back into the forest. And
A lot of huckleberry?
What's
A lot of
that?
huckleberry in there?
I haven't been in there. Yeah,
I thought so. I used to pick huckleberries on it.
yeah. I'm sure there's quite
Too
a
much
bit.
shade, I think. It might be, anyway, yeah, good.
So, you know, I would work with ODF, Oregon Department of Forestry, on, you know, the the logging activities. I would work with local timber fallers. I would work with South Coast Lumber on which timber they would be able to take. I'm not sure. They wouldn't take Port Orford cedar, so if there was Port Orford cedar, I'd have to find a mill for that. And so there's a lot of legwork to do, but my thought would be as soon as fire season ends, we would get in there and log as needed and start developing the site.
I'm gonna look again, but I'm probably gonna say, don't take any cedar. Leave it if you possibly can, unless it's a danger tree or in the way or unhealthy, maybe. Because, I totally agree with Tim Palmer on that. It is our heritage, and if we can get confirmed that somebody's actually rustling trees, that's a huge thing. So I'm sure the sheriff will want to know. And that's especially if that market's up, it keep happening. One other thing I know you're aware of, when we traded this land for the acreage on Flores Lake, the state committed within 5 years to do a plan for the rest of the acreage there that we still own around Flores Creek. And, we have a pretty good relationship with the state of Oregon, the park, so I wonder if we could encourage them to incorporate a plan for this 33 acres along with that, because they have the people and the engineers and, certainly the experts on that. So I'd like to have some idea. I wouldn't delay you from cutting brush, especially in the interest of fire, but it's the first stages of building a park or trails or what have you, is getting that brush down. And so, I could do some legwork on that with Dennis Comfort and some of his people, and but it would be nice to get some sort of a plan. And I guess I'm going to ask, do you need an answer today? At least a consensus?
Well, I've been kind of talking about this for quite a while now. I'd like to start moving forward, and if we possibly could, I think that we would be flexible during the whole time. I think the sooner we could get in there and get the fire hazard down and kind of open up that site in the middle, then it'd be a lot easier to see what all the other opportunities are. And also, too, is if we have people going in there stealing our trees, I think the sooner we get in there and start doing things, we might mitigate that. So, but yeah, I'd like to get on this thing. I've been trying to go with this thought here for about a year, and so I'd like to I think what I'm hearing from everybody and is that everybody supports it and they have their piece and they see how it could work.
Commissioner Pash?
Well, I do think this is something we've talked about for quite a long time, and Rich has always said that he wanted to go in and use a lot of this actually for storage of rock and stuff like that and projects he has. I think to get in there sooner than later is good planning, and Rich has always got good planning. So I'd like to see it move forward as quickly as we could, and at least the center section of it, as you're talking about, the 5, 7, 8, 9 acres of the middle of it, and then carefully plan out what we're going to do with the rest of it for economic development and or bike paths or whatever. I'd like to see all that move forward as well, but I'd like to see great planning, Rich.
Commissioner Herzog?
Rich, were you going to talk on the Curry County Transportation System Plan, Oregon Coast Bike Route goals?
Well, no, but I can. And so currently in the adopted 6-year capital improvement plan for our roads, there's mention to the Oregon Coast Bike Route. And Commissioner Boyce, you mentioned about the money in the bike fund. And that's 1% of the state motor vehicle tax, and that's restricted only for bike lanes and pedestrian walkways. And so we're using that money. I'm not sure where it's at right now, but I think it's close to $50,000, and we're letting that build up. And so we put about 16 grand in there a year, average, and we spend about $8,000 a year average for striping our bike lanes. And so we're letting that other balance grow because we're saving that for matching funds for grants in the future. And right now, there's a lot of opportunity for bike grants. And the Oregon Coastal Bike Route is a priority project for the state, I believe, and I'd like to partner with them and use those state motor vehicle tax that we've been saving as matching funds for our grant. And, you know, it'd be up to them to decide whether they wanted to put, you know, a bike rest area in there. But I can tell you the Oregon Coast Bike Route uses many of our county roads to get those bicyclists off Highway 101. And so what I'm trying to do is those roads, get them brought up to a high standard using the bike lane funding. So that way we could upgrade the storm drains, we could improve the right-of-way, pave the roads, and create a, you know, multi-million-dollar project where we could stretch road dollars 10 cents to the dollar on a multi-million-dollar project. That's the long-term goal. And so and part of that is the transportation system plan. The Curry County has never had an adopted transportation system plan. There, I guess back in 2005, we started a plan, but we never delivered it with the state. And so this year we received funding from the state, and the road department's working with the planning department to deliver a transportation system plan. And then inside that plan are going to be projects like the Oregon Coast Bike Route, and also other projects like the one Commissioner Pash and I have been working with the port commissioners on, against bike lanes and sidewalks down around the port, and that's going to be in that transportation system plan. And so when we have these projects in both our 6-year our master plan and a transportation system plan, those raises our grant scores. And so that's the process that we're doing. So not that these projects of having a bike camping is specifically identified, but the overall Oregon Coast Bike Route is identified in these plans.
I just thinking, you know, I like the idea of a bike camp, but I just don't know if across, you know, on Airport Road, because if I'm riding a bike and I'm coming either way, I'm going to either stop at Langlois for, you know, fuel, or Port Orford. It's 7 miles from Airport Road to the town, or just, you know, not even 5 miles, I think, more to Langlois. So is that a viable bike camp? I'm thinking, because there's no store there, there's no really good water. Is there water?
I believe there, you know,
We'd have water on that
we'd have to
property?
put in a well. And in the packet that you have from the state, they show a housing site right next to the wetland right off of, or a potential housing site right next to the wetland. So, I mean, it's a possibility, but, you know, when you're working with the state and then you're working with what they want, they might say, hey, you know, you have Flores Lake Park right there.
Yeah.
That's where it should be. You know, that's where, you know, who knows what's going to come up with what the state would like to see.
So here's where I'm at. I really don't want to give permission today, but what I would do, if the board agreed, would be to turn you loose on the 7 acres and start the Firewise and give us a little more time to look at that. I think we're, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think we're headed to bringing ODOT in and Oregon Parks in and just having a meeting to start. You know, Commissioner Herzog just mentioned you know, viable plan, and he asked some good questions there. So what could we do, and how much it's usable? You know, somebody just mentioned water. I mean, that's about as basic as you can get. But I would be willing to turn you and your crew loose and encourage you on that 7 acres and get a start there. And we're going to learn as we go, but I think we need to be pretty aggressive in trying to come up with you know, a direction, a real clear direction that we get everybody involved in. So, would that help?
Yeah, I guess. And so it's not the answer I want to hear, but that's okay. You know, it's whatever the board decides. That's what I'll do.
Well, the other thing, we might want to be able to make the case to the public that if we turn the entire 33 acres, 34 acres over to the road department, that it was absolutely the best thing for the decision, or for the citizens. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but I think we could certainly make a case on the 7 acres. So I think that's a start, and I think we could just use that as a beginning point and go from there with the other 27 acres,
Okay.
26 acres.
30.
There's 34 total.
Yeah, so the 7 acres, I think that might be one way to go, Board, and give him, his crew some direction. Director Crockett, did you have something? Thank you. And Mr. Palmer, did you have anything additional? Okay,
Just on the basis of what's been said here, I'd like to make another comment if I can.
certainly.
I think one thing that has come up is there aren't a lot of properties left that the county owns. So I think we need to be pretty careful about how we plan for the utilization of this particular site. I've heard that there's a desire to have bike lanes or some camping facility or, some other things. But I think it behooves the county to put some thought into this. And I'd like to work closely with Rich and come up with a comprehensive plan for that site. Another issue that's out there is the issue of housing. I don't know if it makes sense to look at some housing alternatives for that site, but to preclude that at the onset, I think would possibly misuse some opportunities. The site can be logged. I think we should maximize the ability
Excuse me, I
to...
didn't hear that. Say again?
The site can be logged, and we should probably maximize the ability to get revenue from that site, as well as protect the resources that are there, certainly. It also has zoning that we have to look at. It's a zoned public facility, which limits some of the uses unless we rezone a portion of it to allow some of these other uses to take place. With the transfer of the property from state parks to the county, there was a lifting of the designation on it. So I think the county should be careful in going ahead and turning portions of that site back over to state parks. I think we want to maintain control over it so we have total flexibility in what we can do on that site. That's
No,
all.
I haven't heard anybody say turn it back to the state.
Just
Unless
be
it was-
cautious on
Sure.
our involvement with state parks as far as determining what the appropriate use of that property should be from the county's perspective. That's all. And I would like to work closely with Rich to come up with a comprehensive plan that makes sense and invites the opportunity for all of the people that have an interest in the site to participate in what might work there.
I think it's a valid concern that you have there. Good. So, Board, I still want to walk it out, a little more
Palmer.
extensive. What's that? Oh, sorry.
I think some confusion has arisen here in that that Richard was talking about his site being in the southwestern portion. But Court, you asked if he could use the northern part of the site instead. Isn't that what you
That's
were
the
asking?
7 acres, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So it's two different sites. So when we're talking about the 7 acres, it's unclear which one we're talking about here. So I think you need to resolve that. And my opinion, looking it over, is if the northern part of the site, the northwestern part of the site, north of Airport Road, if that could be used for the road site, that would be better because it would leave that big chunk then intact with more options to pursue. And if all you really need is an acre anyway, then there would be plenty up on the northern part, at least to start with. So that's one thing, resolve which 1 or 7 acres we're
That
talking
is a
about here.
separate 7
Maybe,
acres.
maybe
yes.
that's even resolved later. I think our county planner had an excellent idea that you really need a plan for this before we get very deep into it. And so, maybe we can't resolve today which of those two parts it should be, and a little more thought should be given to that. Because once that's decided, you've kind of set a template then that is going to count. 2 other pieces. I think it's important that the county be the administrator of the site and not the road department. I mean, the whole site. And when you start talking about the road department clearing brush for fire control and all that, that gets to be a much bigger deal than having an acre or 2 to put gravel and rock on. So let's just keep it simple to begin with. And Court, with all respect, you talk about clearing brush there to prevent fire. The whole thing is brush covered. The whole thing is forest with understory, which is kind of the natural ecosystem there. And if you're talking about clearing the brush to make the whole thing fireproof, that would be almost impossible to do and a real mess if you did do it. So there again, I think some forethought has to be given of just, do we want a little fire buffer along 101 with some thinning? Maybe. But any idea of, but don't turn someone loose there, even from our own road department, with the goal to clear brush and make it fireproof. That's going to be a nightmare if you go that route with it. And what else? Oh, the housing was mentioned. I personally would really discourage that, because we have urban growth boundaries for a reason, and new housing should be within them. This is far beyond it. And, you know, we have service issues, we have law enforcement issues, we have fire issues, all these kind of things if housing is added out there. So doing a plan is a great idea. That, you know, that is a terrific idea. We should go with that. But I think to not include housing.
Well,
Main point here being resolved where the road department is, what they're supposed to get if you're going to decide that today, because it's confusing right now.
I'm not saying, I don't think anybody's suggesting for sure that that is buildable land for housing, but we're going to have to persuade you over time to find housing for these people that are so unbelievably desperate. It is, I just can't, other than fireproofing our communities, I can't think of a higher issue. I mean, yes, you can talk about public safety, all the above, and that may be totally inadequate because I don't know what the planning is, but you're seeing the state starting to relax the laws a little bit so we can at least look at small homes for people that are desperate, and I don't, what other word to use, but go ahead.
No, I'm totally on board, Courtney, and Port Orford has one of the largest urban growth boundaries in the state relative to our population. There's a lot of empty land within the urban growth boundary, and good solid planning ever since the original land use planning law in 1972 says try to keep this stuff within the urban growth boundary. But I agree we need housing. That's where it should be to be the most efficient and to serve people the best.
We're also desperate for buildable land, as you know. As far as the fire-wise, anything that's smaller than 2 inches, put it on the ground. And yes, it would be a mess, but that you have to start on that. You and I may disagree on that, but those ground fuels are what are even kill the old growth. I'm not saying there's old growth on there. I doubt there is. I think that's second growth. But that brush burns so unbelievably hot, and it takes everything, and it'll take the neighborhoods with it. So even though it's a major thing, it's like gorse. If you don't fight it some, then you just lose. And so that's where we are in Curry County, because everything, as you know, grows so fast, so intense here, along with the trees.
So to think about that more thoroughly before you take any drastic action.
Would you say under 3 inches or 2 inches or?
No, I think a comprehensive plan should be done, and look at that site and have, there may be, with the fire issue in mind, and no preconceptions about it.
You and I might be closer on that than you think, but I don't think we're identical on that. But yes, fire fuels are a gigantic issue in Oregon, and we still have probably about 110 fire days left at the end of fire season. So thank you, Tim. Who else? Anyone? Please come up.
Summer Matteson, Economic Development. So, I'm not sure, I put some minutes on your desk just to show you how old this project is that we have thought would be a good fit for around the wetlands of that property we're speaking about. It's the Canopy project, and as you can see, it goes back like 24 years. There was a lot of time put into that project. Dean Runyon, Lon Samuels, Portico Group, Egret Communications, and Ecotourism International, they all participated in preparing the pre-con analysis and the architectural and engineering RFPs. There was a website developed in '98 for this project to go live. with Curry, and it was really cool to look back in the history of the documents and see all the different agencies that participated in that. I'm not sure why it didn't happen. It might have been '07 and you know, the shortfalls that we had in the budget. It could have very well been that this project was before its time, but I think the time is now. With the Canopy project, let's see, I downloaded some sample pictures just to kind of give you an idea of, oops, sorry about that. Just to kind of give you an idea of what we're proposing to consider. Hopefully all of these open. Canopy project is ecotourism. It sustains and actually takes advantage of the diverse biosystems that you have there in the ecosystems in that property. You know, training folks with education in you know, what we've got going on there, what this tree is. I was so excited to hear the variety of trees we have there because that just kind of helps. We really need a tourism draw in North County. And I believe that the Canopy project fits the culture of North County. Some of these photos, let me see if I can open some so you can get an idea.
Yeah, you're teasing us.
Some of these, like Mr. Palmer mentioned, because this is in such close proximity to the school, clearly you can see we could integrate trades at the school in helping to develop something like this. You've got metal shop, you've got physics, you've got
Engineering?
Contracting, everything. Construction is
It's
what it is, not
interesting, huh?
contracting. Yeah.
Life-saving.
What?
Saving it.
So some zip line, right, and keeping it off the ground. You see a lot of this. The tree resort over in Happy Camp, over in the valley, that same company proposed the Canopy project here in Curry County and then took it over to the valley. So if you haven't ever stayed there, it's pretty awesome and a nice little tribute to the trees. Just a variety of different activities, team building. You can take nonprofits out there, your you know, a family retreat, small business, and really do some team building and trust exercises while learning more about our environment here. There's another platform and a tree. Initially, when I saw this, I'm like, because you know, I like trees. I was like, that might damage the tree, but it's amazing the engineering they invest in suspension and
Allowing for growth?
yes, because that was, you know, you're going to choke that poor tree, but now that's not the case. So it's done pretty intentional. Not really proposing a skate park, but, you know, just the idea when Rich and I discussed the scenic bikeway, we've got a lot of investment, especially from Aqua right now, or TSOC, with the bike trails, Whiskey Run. We do have a lot of biking that comes up and down the coast, and it's actually our number one draw as far as revenues in the county for tourism. So we don't have a hiker-biker in North County. We do have that parcel on Elk River. We did talk about putting or developing as a hiker-biker because it's so low maintenance, low impact on the land.
I see it's got a fireplace. I wonder who packs the wood up for him.
Yeah.
That's a neat deal.
I honestly didn't see that. So this is just, you know, we've got the tourism dollars, we've got the property. You know, our businesses are saying, okay, we've paid a lot in to TLT. There's a lot of money sitting there. What are you guys going to do? So this is one of the few projects that came to mind that we were excited because the funding is there, the need is there, and the buy-in from the community. I think it would be pretty exciting.
Pretty unique.
Yeah, so I have a ton of history I can share when the time is right. You know, actually, I was pretty excited when I finally found that blue folder you had told me existed. We found that downstairs, and there's been a lot of time put into this project, and I think it's worth taking a look at further.
You know Mike Hewitt, right?
Yes.
You do, Tim. You sure? I mean, he spent, what,
Yeah.
3 years on that? His email is still Canopy One after 20 years where, you know, it's been gone. They moved out and went away, but Thank you for pulling all that information together. That is, I'm not saying that's the greatest idea, but it certainly deserves a look. And your reference to, Tim's reference to the high school, I mean, I've been saying that all along. Your reference to something different needed in North County, yeah, right halfway between Langos and Port Orford. I don't know if the trees are big enough, but, that's everywhere you see or read about those projects, they are incredibly popular. The demand is there, clean, good for kids, all the above. So, and if we have some money that we put on the table for seed money, we might be able to raise additional money. But we need the plan. We sure need the plan. Mr. Herzog?
So I say Summer, Becky, Rich, get together and bring us a plan.
Don't leave out Tim Palmer now, because...
Oh, thank you for your time.
I can't tell him what to do.
Actually, we can't tell anybody what to do, but
And
we
can.
try, don't we? Thank you very much again. So what else? Uh-oh, Becky's leaving.
She's done.
She's done. So that's all I have. I'm definitely going to, hopefully before this weekend, I want to look it over some more, especially the 7 acres on the north end. And yeah, I'll probably hit the ground a few times, but I'm used to it, Yes?
Commissioner, if I might, real quick, I just want to mention, we own over 60 acres on the north side of the airport.
East side, you mean?
Is it the east side?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get turned around in there.
65 acres.
Yeah, it's just as unfire-wise as
I mean,
the
and
other
it's-
property.
It's fairly flat ground, too.
I've walked that property, so I know what you're talking about, trying to get through there. It's not easy, but that's probably a fire hazard as well.
Yeah, they all need TLC.
Summer, real quick, is that out by Blacklock?
Yes,
Okay, on the...
it's right, when you're going through the gate,
Blacklock?
take a right, look straight east, it's right there, and it's a pretty rectangular piece of property. No, it's not on any of these maps, but yeah, it's a full 65 acres. It just isn't very good access,
Well, there is a property, so if that's east, there is property on the north side, I believe, that is for sale, that you could port the easement through. And then you've got another one on the other side that's for sale. So when you look at the main road and that property that was for sale 6-9 months ago, you could create an easement through there. And we've worked with ODA. They're pretty amenable and want to see some development there as well, but sustainable development.
ODA, Oregon,
Oregon Department of Aviation.
okay. They own the airport, then the
Well, yeah, they manage it. Mike Moss is the gentleman that when an airport is surrendered, the state is automatically responsible for maintaining that.
John Wilson's still there, and Tony Beach is...
All
Yeah.
great people to work
Yes.
with, really.
So, Mr. Palmer, thanks for making the trip up.
Down.
Roadmaster, what did I say? At least I didn't say September again, huh? Thanks for making the trip down to Gold Beach and your input. Would you be willing to serve on a committee? I'll put you on the spot here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, how much time I'll have to dedicate to it, or if I'll be even here, because I'm gone for a chunk of time, the rest of the summer and fall.
Okay.
But,
How about phone? Phone or Zoom, could you do?
pardon me?
Could you do phone or Zoom?
Probably not, I'm gonna be
On a river.
40-day river trip.
Ah,
good for you.
bless you, my son. Roadmaster Christensen, really great job. Do you have something else you would like to add, please?
We'll look at a comprehensive plan together as soon as possible.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, board. So let's take, can we take 5 or 10 minutes and then see where our next, if they're calling in or videoing in or where we're at on that? So it's, meet everybody back here 5 minutes to 3, please.
Make it a solid red.
Okay. You don't
Okay,
have to
we're
get-
back on Curry County, Oregon Board of Commissioners workshop session. It is July 7th, 2021. It is 2 minutes before 3 o'clock. On our second agenda item on the, welcome back, council folks. On our second agenda item for our workshop, thank you, board, is Curry County Fleet-Wide Vehicle Management. We have on video Zoom Ryan Alford from the Enterprise Company will be making his third presentation to the Curry County Board of Commissioners and public. Thank you for moving it continually forward and getting us more information. I think Roadmaster Christensen has done a really good job in getting you very detailed information so you can make the best possible presentation on how we can potentially save money for our county and our whole fleet program. I'll read just one more little bit here. Enterprise Fleet Management is a full-service fleet management company that works with both private public entities, helping our clients with everything from acquisition, fuel, funding, compliance, safety, maintenance, to resale. We would like to put together a financial analysis to present to the board with initial replacement resale recommendations on Curry County's vehicle fleet. I noticed the references you had here, very good, and you followed through with that, no surprise, and Jackson County was the biggest one that I'm familiar with, and I followed up, and they are very happy, Mr. Olford, that the program that Enterprise is doing for them, and convinced that they're definitely saving money. So I don't need to say any more. Thank you for tuning in. We meant to have you a little bit earlier, but we appreciate it very much, you taking the time again today.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
So do you want to make a presentation? Do you want us to ask questions? Where do we go from here? Next stage, we have Roadmaster.
I'll give kind of the background, some of the discussions that Richard and I have had since our last conversation. You're correct, you get more information, more details, more information. And I think Richard and I are on the same page. And Richard, I don't want to speak for you, but if you just want to kind of open it up real quick with your assessment, your vision on where you see Enterprise helping the county from your seat, I think that'd be very helpful. And then I can fill in the gaps, answer questions, and go into any details about the numbers that we need to.
Okay, yeah, what we're looking at, I manage 3 funds for general service vehicles, insurance, the maintenance, and buying and selling of vehicles. And so what we're talking about here today is just the buying and selling of vehicles. And last couple of weeks been talking with Ryan about Enterprise, and they could sell vehicles at a higher price than I can through public surplus. And he worked the numbers where if they were just managing the portion of buying and selling our vehicles, that they would be able to sell our vehicles for as much or more than we pay for them on a cycle. It could be a 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year cycle. It really depends, because they have the same opportunity with buying under governmental pricing for us, but then they have their ability to sell through Enterprise at a higher resale value. And so looking at that, I think there's a good opportunity here is that we turn that portion over to Enterprise for everything except for like emergency service vehicles that have much higher setup costs. We're just talking your basic vehicles, to where everybody in the county or every department of county will be getting a new vehicle every 1, 2, 3 years, depending on what Enterprise decides that flip factor is for maintaining low cost. So some of these vehicles might just have a few oil changes. That's all we'll be doing in the shop. There won't be no brakes or tires, and it'll just be cleaning the vehicle. So I'm kind of looking at this, I kind of like it. So I just thought I'd turn it over to Ryan and let him kind of talk about what we've done in the last 3 years following what their presentation said they could do. I started doing for the road department. And there is cost savings with that you'll hear from him today, that because we bought all those vehicles in 2019 and 20, that they're ripe for resale right now at a profit. So anyways, I'll turn it over to Ryan. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, that paints a pretty good picture of what we're trying to accomplish here. So I think where the value proposition comes in for the county is it's having Enterprise help with logistics of the acquisition and refill piece of your fleet. There's other things that we could do that we could explore down the road, but from everything that Richard and I have had conversations on, that's where we see the most value coming to the county. So to flash back to Richard's point, 3 years ago, I presented to you all the same model. I mean, it hasn't really changed much. I was happy to see, once I talked to Richard and got some more information back from him, that he basically took our recommendation, bought Ram 1500 quad cab 4x4 trucks, which is what we recommended at the time, bought 5 of them. And because he made that initial investment 3 years ago or so, you can see it now in the numbers. So, just to give you kind of a high level, the idea behind what we're proposing is not, rocket science. We want to buy the vehicle as low as we can. We want to make sure we're buying vehicles that fit well within this structure. Quad cabs, crew cabs, 4x4s, different kind of trucks, SUVs, things like that. We want to make sure that we're recycling or replacing the vehicle at optimal time. And that's really where Enterprise comes in. Outside of just a simple acquisition and refill structure, it's really designed to help your team make informed decisions on the fleet on a yearly basis. Those initial 5 vehicles that you did was kind of like a little pilot, and you decided to do it on your own, and that's okay. As you continue to scale up in this type of program, it becomes more difficult from a funding perspective and from just a logistics perspective to start turning and burning that many vehicles on a yearly basis. And that's where Enterprise can come in and just help make the process extremely simple and easy to execute and provide those numbers on a yearly basis. We are not a dealer. We don't want to come off as a dealer. We are a fleet management company. We really want to work with your teams, your department heads, to put together a sound financial plan for the fleet that's long-term, that's sustainable. And that's what we're presenting today. So, again, the proof of the value, the proof of this would work, you've already gone through that. Because, again, 3 years ago, back in 2018, we ordered 5 2019. By the time these new ones come in, they're going to be 2022, the 3-year mark, and we bought them for $23,822, and our numbers are now on average. We got some for 28, 25, 27, and the resale numbers that we're providing you are rough condition, sight unseen, 12-month numbers. So it's not reflective of what's going on in the market today. Typically, your vehicles are in really good condition. Richard's done a really good job of maintaining them, taking care of them. They're brand new for the most part. One of them only has 8,000 miles on them. Another one only has 5,000 miles on them. So these trucks are worth a lot of money still. And so it's taking that concept and expanding it across the fleet for Curry County. And we've gone through and selected out specific vehicles within the road fleet and the general service fleet that we think makes the most sense for a program like this. And the beauty of what we're trying to accomplish here is that by selling off these, so for example, in the roads division, we're looking at selling 11 vehicles. I'm going to share my screen real quick here so you have a chance to look at it. Let's share. There we go. So you're looking at $224,000 in equity right now in the current road fleet. That's on 11 vehicles. A large reason for that are those 5 2019 Ram 1500s that you bought. You're using the same investment that you did 3 years ago for the new vehicle. However, what I'm proposing, just from the long-term sustainability of this program, is you can pay for the vehicles however you like, pay cash, finance, do whatever you want. What most counties do, what Jackson County is doing, is what's called an equity lease, which I've explained before in the past. But basically it's saying, we don't want you paying for the full depreciation of a unit or a vehicle that we don't think you're going to hold for the full length of the time that the vehicle depreciation comes out. So if we're saying, hey, we should do a 1-year hold on a truck, then we only want to pay for a 1 year's worth of depreciation. And so we do an equity lease. And basically what that does is it's a fair market value. We depreciate the vehicle down over a year. We sell the vehicle. Anything above that book value is equity back to Curry County. This allows you to use the equity you have in your fleet. And if you were to replace all 11 of these vehicles, it's only going to cost the county $63,000 for all 11 vehicles for 1 year, netting you back a surplus of $160,000 in surplus just from the vehicles we're selling. basically what I'm getting to is that because of the, budget deficits and capital issues with the vehicle, we can still get into this program without having to pay cash to do so and get a large net surplus back. And that does not take into consideration the fact that if you run the vehicle for 1 year or 2 years, you're still going to get more equity back at that point as well. So the program becomes self-sustainable over time the faster you get into it, because these vehicles are worth more than what you bought them for the minute you buy them. And at the same time, we are minimizing, to Richard's point, all you're doing is oil change and preventative care, everything's under warranty. And so that's the idea behind the program. And that's what we put together today. We have a roads fleet plan, we have a general services fleet plan, and I have the numbers for both. I'm going to stop there, because if I keep going, I'll talk all day. Any questions so far?
Sounds too good to be true. The old days of,
Well, like I said, Richard's already proved it out over the last 3 years with those Ram 1500s. And that's what we're trying to accomplish again, just expanding it now.
Commissioner Pash?
Well, to be very frank, I'm a little bit surprised because I didn't even know this was going on. I'm the liaison with Rich, and it would have been nice if I would have had this information when it was produced so that I could have gone over a lot of it to see. In full disclosure, I'm a licensed California dealer as well, so I understand a lot of the car business. Not trying to be rude, but to be the asker of the question, why do we need Enterprise to do something that Rich and I talked about doing 2.5 years ago, and it's worked out, as you even stated, working out perfectly for us. So, not to be rude, but I'm just asking, why do we need you?
It's a very valid question. I'm glad you asked. So like I said in the very beginning, when you are looking at operating a fleet of 5 Ram 1500s, you're doing it on a smaller scale, it's one thing. As you continue to expand this, and you're looking at 30, 40, 50 vehicles at some point in this type of a model, having one person or even one division have to buy and sell 25, 30 some odd vehicles a year, it's just not sustainable for most counties and cities. That's just my experience in. Jackson County has a fleet of 350 some odd vehicles. They have an entire fleet division that oversees their vehicles. Same concept, they still see the value in what we're doing. On top of that, the lead in, the way you get into this, yes, you were able to secure funds for 5 vehicles a few years back, but my concern is from a long-term sustainability, most counties and cities don't have the cash to just go out and buy 27 vehicles this year. This year might be unique with some of the funding and some of the loans we're receiving for a lot of counties and cities, but most counties and cities don't have that kind of cash. Our equity lease program allows you to do more with less cash and get into the program. And the quicker you can get into the program and start replacing your vehicles, the faster you'll start saving money over time. And so, again, 3 years ago, I presented that plan to Richard. And Richard came to you and said, we should do this. And we took our plan, and now you're implementing it on a small scale. But as we continue to raise the bar on this and expand it, I think you're going to run into some issues from a sustainability standpoint, and that's where Richard sees us coming in and helping out.
2 more questions, if I could. One on sales. Basically, Enterprise sells their vehicles, as many of the rental car agencies do, either through their own websites and or through public auction, like Odessa and those kind of places, correct? Through dealer auctions.
No, so like, if you have an old vehicle, like we're saying we're selling a 2004, 2003, yes, most likely we'll take that to an auction just because you're a dealer. No used dealer is going to buy those 3 cars. That's what we do. But the vast majority of what we sell actually goes back to our wholesale dealer network. So I'm sure you're familiar with that, how that works. Yep. So we actually hand sell our vehicles, the vast majority of them. You are right, there's a certain small percentage, less than 1%, that goes to our actual car sales lot, but not your trucks, not our fleet vehicles. We have an entire marketing division here in the Portland metro area that all they do all day is sell vehicles. And it's their goal to sell them at the best possible amount they can.
Okay. One more question. This is an equity lease program. What are the terms on the lease? I didn't see anything of that in here. What's the back end on it, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. So these are called open-ended equity leases or track leases. Again, dealership words there. It's not like a net lease, so there's no wear and tear fees, there's no mileage restrictions, there's no monthly amounts. Basically what we're saying is that most likely what we typically do is write a 48 or 60-month lease, but there's no early termination fee. So I might come to you in year one of a 48-month term and say, hey, we recommend that you sell this truck. You know, you owe 20 on it and it's worth 28. We're going to sell it for 28. The book value is 20. We're going to cut you an $8,000 check back to you. So they are flexible for that reason. So we might write a longer term. We might write a 12. We'll write a 48-month term, the standard term for government for what we typically do. And then your fleet strategy manager and your accounts team are going to work with Richard and you as well to help you identify when's the optimal time to replace it. And we might come to you next year and say you can replace these 10 trucks, and here's why. And here's the financial impact if you do, here's the financial impact if you don't. At the end of the day, it's your decision how long you keep the vehicle. You can always extend it out until it's paid off, and the vehicle as long as you like. You can buy the vehicle out at book value at any point in time in the lease. It's very open and very flexible.
If I could share one more question. As I believe, and a lot of the market believes right now, what we have currently with the chip shortages is an anomaly in the market. Coming out of that chip shortage in the next few months, where do you see the auto market returning? Do you see it returning back to normal? Do you see it staying high? Because that, of course, will certainly affect the county's bottom line.
Yeah, so the retail numbers I'm showing you here don't reflect any these are the numbers that are 12 months out. So we're projecting normal rough condition retail numbers. I'm not taking into consideration what's going on today because I can't buy these vehicles today. It's not like, what we're showing you here is production for the vast majority of what I'm presenting to you doesn't even start until November. So you're looking at probably Q2 of next year before you even see a vehicle hit the ground. So the retail values I'm presenting to you are not going on right now. However, with that said, yes, the microchips are going to come back into the market. They have to eventually, right? And, everything we're hearing on our end could be into this year, early next year, kind of that's kind of where the production needs are starting there. But the reality is there's still nothing on dealer lot. 2022 model years aren't producing until later this year and won't come out until middle of next year probably. So there's still going to be a shortage. Will it be as drastic as today? No. We're 40% above the used car vehicle index. And we're at our 20th consecutive month in a row of increase in used car market. So that's going to go down, but I still think we'll be above 2020, 2019, probably for all of 2022.
That's all I have, sir.
Mr. Herzog.
So Richard, you, go ahead and get up there. Do you feel like this would be, you wouldn't have to, you or your staff wouldn't have to manage this, right? We would.
Right. We would just have to approve it, and we'd take it to the board for approval each year. And I can tell you right now, it's pretty daunting for the road department, man. We have our budget every year and all the projects and vehicles and equipment. It's pretty daunting trying to keep up with that workload, then to take on the whole fleet and try to bring it up to the level that the road department has done with its 5 pickup trucks. And Ryan?
Hang on one second. Are you able to hear him okay? Ryan, Mr. Alford?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Sorry, thank you.
Ryan, you also did a replacement plan for Gen Services, and you had some numbers in that. Maybe go over that with the board, because what I'm really looking at is Gen Services. And these are the vehicles, everything but the sheriff's department. And there's really 20, I think you did this on 21 vehicles and presentation, and there's really 26 vehicles, because there's 4 loaners right now from the road department helping other departments. And I missed the veteran services vehicle. So it was one. So there's really 26, but I'd like to kind of talk about this and how this would work. But I also would like to talk about this because we have the American Rescue Plan funds. And this might be a good opportunity to get the general services where it's self-funded from here on out, where we buy this outright instead of doing the lease option. And then whenever Aaron Price says flip that vehicle, because we're going to be able to recoup our costs and maybe have no costs, and we let them run it. And now everybody in the county has a new vehicle all the time that's safe, and that it's very cost effective for the county. And I think the public would understand that if we presented it to them correctly. So anyways, Ryan, please let them know what you found here.
Stay there if you would.
Yeah, and I think another thing I think another thing to talk about that we haven't really brought up with Richard yet is the right typing of these vehicles. So, today, and based off what Richard has told me, if you have warranty work on a vehicle and it's a Dodge product or a Ram product, you have a dealership that's within reach. But if it's a Ford or a Chevy, you're traveling the Medford, you get warranty work on a vehicle. So what we've done is we're trying to, again, pick vehicles that we feel, A, will have good resale value on the back end, but also to work for your location and where you're all at. And so what you see on the screen is a lot of Dodge Durango, a lot of Ram 1500s and Ram products. And the reason for that is because we picked Dodge Durango all-wheel drive to replace some older sedans. Sedans do not hold their value as well. So I think from a total cost of ownership perspective, going with a Dodge Durango, I think would be better value overall, depending what we need. Doesn't mean we can't go with sedans. It's just our first crack at this, but there is some rhyme and reason behind why we're selecting certain vehicles. Some of these departments obviously need, with juvenile, need an SUV and partition. But these other divisions, it's really trying to maximize on the acquisition and potential resale of the vehicle as well. So that's what we've done here. And again, the values you're seeing here in the column here, 12-month values, it's not like if you've been selling a vehicle lately, I think you probably have, took a Ram 1500 4x4 with 35,000 miles on it, would probably get 28 or 29 for it today. 12 months from now, I don't know. So we're being conservative in saying 24. You could get more. But the same concept applies for general services that did for road, and that you have a surplus. And so the way into this program is by, again, using the money you already have in these vehicles to help offset the initial payments to get into the program. And for general services, for these 17 people that were selected, it would be $109,000 in the payments for the year. You have $150,000 surplus. You have $51,000 left over, even after the first year of payments. And if we start cycling these vehicles out again, you're going to get equity back once you start replacing them as well to help offset any additional costs. So that's the general services. I've broken the two separate tabs. I do feel like talking with Richard, a lot easier to pull the trigger maybe on the road division, additional services might require some additional conversations, but we wanted to include it because it's a big part of your fleet.
Roadmaster Christensen?
What was for those 17 vehicles, what was the outright, if they were just to be purchased outright with the offset of the sales price of the vehicles that we currently have?
If you were to pay cash for them, it'd be a little different. This right here is assuming you're doing an equity lease. If you were to pay cash, it would go over your surplus.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I thought it was about, okay, never mind. I'm not sure about the number, what that number would be, but see, that's the number I would really look at it from my perspective, because I don't like having payments. And so, but I kind of look at the American Rescue Plan, there's opportunity there. And I know there's a lot of need and everything, but I think that this could set up general services for the foreseeable future and take some workload off of the road department, and also keep a new low-cost fleet for the county. So, but anyways, that's just how I look at things, but I know there's, the way this is presented too has values also, and I'm just talking about my personal perspective.
Yeah, I get the not payment thing. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to pay for the lease up front, not really have payments, or if you want to pay cash for the vehicle, these are all options to the county. Again, what we've seen just over time, we work with, I think, almost 900 cities and counties across the country now. And it's just very difficult to continue to have that kind of cash up front. Now, this might be a different year. What this allows you all to do, again, is to, based off what I've been told, that there's no capital budget for replacement this year, this allows you to still replace vehicles without having to stroke a check for $1. Because everything that we're going to be using the vehicle for is going to be paid for by the vehicles themselves. And if we do get 20% above the market, or 10% above the market next year, that's just more, that's gravy. Again, anytime we provide you a value, it's very conservative. Jackson County did that. They did a couple SUVs, we came to them in a year or two, and they short cycled because they can make their money back on. So that's what that's part of the fleet management process, is to just engage in that. I do want to show you one more way of looking at this. And this is on a 1-year hold. So this is a Ram 1500 tradesman 4x4 quad cab standard work truck, what you purchased back in 2019. Here's your monthly payment for this type of a vehicle. Here's your payment over 12 months. So over the next 12 months, if you were to finance, which is an equity lease, you'd pay about $6,000 overall. When we turn that vehicle back in, your book value is about 23 grand, but the resale value is at 30 grand. So we're going to write you a check back for $7,300. So what that means is you would make $1,500 per truck, even if you financed it. Add in what your anticipated maintenance is going to be on a truck over 1 year. You've got a couple oil changes based off your mileage pattern and your estimated fuel cost. Even with state maintenance and fuel included on a conservative resale number, you could make $200 per truck. All in, depreciation, maintenance, fuel, payment, interest, the works. Like, that's how this could work. Even if it was going to cost you a little bit, $300, $200, $150, that's like $20 a month to own and operate a vehicle. That's nothing. So that's where we want to take you all, to that kind of level. Again, you started small on the 5, but you still have a long list of vehicles that are old, they're costing more in fuel, they're costing more in maintenance, that are reduction in safety, and they need to be replaced at some point. This program will allow you to have a sustainable, long-term replacement plan, while not having to stroke $500,000 or $750,000 in cash to replace that. Any questions on this?
Well, thanks again. One comment I have, and I think you can, either you or both, Mr. Christensen, can shed some light on it. Saving money is one of the main reasons we're here. But that's secondary to, nobody's going to ask you to predict the future, or at least shouldn't. And it's quite the wild card, or wild cards. So, but with the background that you have, certainly the reputation of your company, you mentioned the 900 entities, some of the discussions we've had in the past, that has been the biggest attraction to me to this program, is just relying on professionals that say, hey, no, we can't read the future, but based on this, we can offer this, we can recommend that. And so that's a big one with me. I mean, it's different people have different experiences in life and backgrounds, and yet there is the proof in the pudding as far as I'm concerned. Just try and simply prepare us for the future on our, vehicle needs. And just planning ahead in a very volatile time that we're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel, take the industry stuff outside of what's going on right now. Like, when it comes to ordering and lead times and production dates of vehicles, that's all expanded and that's all crazy right now. But just take that out of the equation. What I'm telling you right now is no different than what I told you 3 years ago. And I talked to Richard about it. I really appreciate it. I'm happy that he moved forward with some capacity and it's working. You know, he's on a 3-year-old. We could have came to him in year 1 and said, hey, you bought that truck for 24 grand. Well, guess what? It's worth 31 right now. You want to sell it for 6 grand? He'd have been like, yeah, I want to sell it for 6 grand. So even on that small scale, there's room for improvement. And again, as Richard said, as this expands, we don't have the capacity to sit there and evaluate 40, 50 rides and what they're worth and what they can sell for and do all the math, all the science, all the numbers that go behind the scenes on it, calculate that and put it all together in a proposal and present it to you on a yearly basis. That's a full-time $100,000, $120,000 per year job. And we're saying that we could do it for you and do it less expensive than what you're doing today and overall reduce, you know, and we're not even talking about selling vehicles yet that you don't even need. You know, you mentioned last time there's some vehicles that probably could be just disposed of altogether. So there's more equity here that's probably not even discussing. But I think this puts you in a really good position with honestly little to no risk if you've already seen it work.
Council Pope, did you have any questions? Okay. You heard Roadmaster Christian say, yeah, maybe getting it off his desk a little bit. Anybody in the county is capable of doing it is him and his staff. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think Commissioner Pash is correct. He needs more time to look at it and look at the numbers. And I think with Commissioner Pash's background, it'd help us make a good decision.
So,
Because we can't make a decision in a workshop anyhow.
No, it's exactly right. So all we're doing right now is just talking about it and seeing if this is something we want to pursue, and then maybe bring it to the next board meeting, and for approval to move forward. And I would just kind of like to see what the actual cost is and to purchase the vehicles if we were to use our funds.
so Mr. Alford, the 2.5, 3 years ago that you originally talked, can you give us a rough idea what maybe we could have saved if we, in addition, it sounds like we kind of took your tip and ran with it, but could we have saved additional money if we'd have stayed with your company? I think that's somewhat obvious.
Well, the big thing is not necessarily like per vehicle, but I probably would have encouraged you to take that 100 grand that you spent on 5 trucks and replace your entire fleet with the same amount of money. And then now you'd have 30 or 40 vehicles being replaced and making 6, 7, 8 grand off each truck. The faster you get into this, the faster you can start saving it. It's really not, you know, that's just the way it works. So I understand there is a general hesitation. It's a leap. I think what you guys did a couple years back was probably best for you, because me coming in there for the first time and saying you should replace all these vehicles, you're like, whoa, we've never done that before, which is very common from most counties and cities I've worked with. But I think once you've made some form of an investment into it and you've made some form of leap, which you already have, I mean, think about this. You have $100,000 right now in those 5 trucks. They're worth that. They're probably worth more than that. That's the same amount of money you spent a few years back. It's still there. So what I'm saying is take that money and spread it across more vehicles so you can get more into the program. If you just take that 100 grand and you buy 5 more trucks, you're back at 0 again, that's fine. And a couple years later, do it all over. Now you only have 5 trucks in the process. How can you add 1? How can you add 2? This is helping you add way more to get more into the program. We haven't even talked about maintenance and fuel savings. I mean, Richard said it earlier. This is like you're buying a truck and you're putting less than $100 in maintenance in it an entire year. In the 3 years he's owned those trucks, he's probably still like $150 in maintenance. And we're not even doing brakes, we're not even doing tires. We're getting rid of them before he even gets that part. So we're not even tapping into how much savings this can provide you, because we're not even talking about the other 2 buckets. Take an 04 trucks, miles per gallon, and compare it to a brand new 2022 miles per gallon. Night and day. Not a huge difference, not going to save you tons of money, but probably save $1,500 a year on that. So there's other factors to go into it. And so I think from my perspective is if I could put you into a program that can, again, lower costs across multiple different avenues and make it easier on Richard, that's a win. Maybe we're presenting 2 plans for a reason. I think the roads division is a simple, easy, no-brainer in my opinion. I think general services to an extent. but maybe we need to dive into general services a little bit more and just get a better idea of what we utilize for and what we need. There's probably maybe some more conversations there, but both fleets need to be replaced in some capacity. And you do have a few 2019, 2018 in general services that are worth a lot of money still, that could really help offset and help pay for some of the older vehicles that have already missed their prime. They're already past their point of no return. So it's kind of hard to justify those sometimes, but when you have $25K in a truck that could pay for 6 leases, then it starts to make sense.
Okay. Anybody else?
I can't see your faces, so I don't know if you're all looking at me squarely eyed or not, but what might be a good exercise is if Chris, if you, I, and Richard can have a call, if this is your field and your realm. I mean, I know Commissioner Boyce is taking the lead on this, and we've had some conversations outside of it. It might be a good idea just to do it for us three to get on a quick phone call,
What I'd like to see,
this week or next week, and just make sure.
what I'd like to see, if you would, please, is email me your lease structure, and also email me your purchase plan and your buyback plan, so I could read the language on those and see the numbers on the lease plan. And then I would be more than willing to have a call between you and Rich and I.
Is that
So on the agreement side of things, but go ahead, sorry.
No, I mean, I just, if you give us another tip and then we say thanks but no thanks, I don't want to get in that situation. I appreciate your expertise.
I think it's a good idea that, so I think seeing our agreements is important. So just so you know, we are members of Sourcewell, so is Curry County. We were awarded a RFP for fleet management services with Sourcewell. So that's how, like Jackson County and a few other kinds of being able to piggyback off that award. I will send you our Sourcewell agreement because all of the agreements are in there. And we have an agreement kind of for everything. So we have a consignment agreement that authorizes to sell vehicles on your behalf. Pretty simple. And then we have a master lease agreement that allows us to do business together. That's it. We have maintenance agreements and fuel things, but you're not doing maintenance if you're not doing fuel. So it really comes down to just a few different little agreements. I think at some point in time, you'll probably want someone from legal to review those. But yeah, again, Sourcewell's already approved all of our agreements. That's everyone else is piggybacked off them. I will send you our Sourcewell agreement, and I will send you over our resale agreement and our general master lease agreement to you so you can review this.
Thank you, sir.
Roadmaster Christensen?
I think we're good.
Put on the next agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
I see a lot of heads shaking. Yeah, you can't see us, but everybody's nodding, yes, put it on the next meeting. So, very good report again. Very well articulated, and all the work that you went into getting us the information and the entire inventory is all the above. Thank you again. So the next meeting is on the...
I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right.
Sorry, Court, go ahead.
No, this next meeting is the 21st. We'll try and make that. I think that might be possible. I'll make sure Roadmaster Christensen has got that open on his schedule and wants to confirm that.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sounds great. I appreciate it all. I'll have a recap email sent out with our agreement and Sourcewell contract, so you can all start the review process. And then I look forward to, I'll connect with Richard on the side. We'll try to get a call set up between now and the 21st, just to make sure everything's dialed in before we get there.
All right. And Ryan, I'll coordinate with Richard to get a hold of you, and we can have a chat.
Sounds great. Have a good one. I'll appreciate you coming again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Bye now. Can we close this meeting?
Well, can I, a few comments if I could.
Go ahead.
He talks about, and I'm not going to get into who did it first and all that stuff, but Rich and I started talking about this before I ever heard about Enterprise, and that's fine. But what he said, the last thing he said about you can make $6,000 or $8,000 in your truck right now isn't true, because you have to replace the vehicle. And he's right in saying right now, sales are way up. The price of your truck, you could probably get $35,000 for it today, the costs are way up, and yes, could we make $6,000 or $8,000 on those trucks today? Yes.
Right.
Then what are you going to buy to replace them? You're going to pay that
That's-
same premium to replace them.
Right, and so
So
basically.
it's just not that easy.
No, it's not that easy, and the thing is that the vehicles would have to be replaced and in our hands before we could sell what we have, because we have to be able to drive something.
And like he said, right now, you're seeing all the dealer lots are empty, as is mine. You can't buy a vehicle right now that's reasonable. You don't find vehicles right now to buy because they're selling for this huge number. And again, the dealers, yeah, they can sell their vehicles and make a lot of money, but then they have to replace them, and that's why their lots are empty.
Right. So that's where I kind of look at it, is the upfront money to kind of get us into the game, because we got to get the vehicles here before we ship out the old vehicles.
You're talking ARP.
Yeah, I want to look at that, because in my mind's eye, I think the offset for general services was around $200,000, plus the vehicles that the board approved us buying last year and the year before. All those vehicles are worth more right now currently than when we purchased them. And that was the plan. Back then was, we had agreed after that presentation 3 years ago by Enterprises that all our new vehicles, we were going to try to place them in a 3-year flip. But what he's saying is that there's opportunities sometimes, what they do with other counties and agencies they work for, they flip them 1 a year or 2. So I think that the only thing that has to happen is there has to be a vehicle in the shop that Bob and Chuck are putting door stickers on saying Curry County before the current vehicles are shipped out by Enterprise. And that's, and me personally, I would rather work this program where it's fully funded. Like the road department, we buy all our vehicles cash, right, through Sourcewell and government purchasing like they would do. And, it'd be nice to maybe get general services using ARP funds in the position that the road department is in, so that way it's pretty seamless. He's talking with Ryan, it's after we receive our new vehicle, they could have our old vehicle sold within like 30 days, is what they typically say.
Well, what he's going to do, though, Richard, is they have an inventory of vehicles already. They are contracted with Ford, Dodge, all of these big companies. These Hertz I know a lot about right now because they just went through bankruptcy, so I did a lot of study on how Hertz does their business.
Okay.
What they do is they inventory, they have a constant annual inventory with all the major car producers. They use, let's say Hertz uses like Ford, Dodge, and Toyota are their 3 majors.
Okay.
They call Ford up and say, this year we want to inventory 200,000 Fords nationwide or worldwide. And this is the schedule of vehicles that we're going to inventory. Give me a price. Ford has to produce that many cars for them every year and guarantee them an inventory of those cars by a certain date, and it might be on a monthly basis. They deliver 10,000 vehicles.
Right.
So, he wouldn't necessarily, his company wouldn't necessarily need to order that vehicle for you, and you go through that ordering process and wait 60 days before you get your new vehicle and put the new stickers on it. He already knows that he's got it in Medford or in Salem somewhere.
Right.
Boom, he takes the old car and he delivers your new car. And that's a big plus to this program, actually.
Actually, that is.
There's no wait time.
There's no wait time.
That's a great plus to his program, but I'd like to read the language on some of the contracts.
Absolutely.
Because
it's not
they're
my
in business to make
expertise.
money too, and I just want to make sure we have our eyes wide open, that's all.
So preliminarily, you think this would set us up for less risk in the future of just managing our fleet if we went with this company? If you
I
just
think
had to
it
make a guess, I don't want to hold
I don't
you
know about
to.
risk, but I know it sounds like it would save us money, that we would have a new fleet all the time at a lower cost, and it may take care of itself.
And take some off your plate.
It would definitely take something off my plate.
And I could agree with most of that to a point. Again, they're in business to make money, and I have a couple of questions on some of the issues that I'd like to see first, and then bring anything I learned to the
Yeah, I
board
like
and
it.
make a decision from that.
Yeah, I'll just hang my hat on, if nothing else, the Jackson County is incredibly well managed with their program, and so if they say this is the outfit to go with, they have many people within their employ that probably could do, an adequate job, but if that was the case and Enterprise wasn't saving them money, they would definitely not be working with them. So I think we have a general consensus here. Try and get it on the 21st if you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that. It sounds like many of the agencies he's worked with have a whole department that manages their fleet, not just a roadmaster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm talking about. We handle millions of dollars of projects every year. and
One
grants,
less
and-
plate you got to spin.
Yeah, it'd be helpful. And if it saves the county money, I'm all for it.
Hey, thanks for giving us the afternoon. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Board. This work session is completed.